let's do something. Think with me about the last time or a memorable time when you experienced the feeling of wonder, of awe. Did something give you goosebumps? Did your whole body and your soul buzz? Did a snatch of music transport you to another realm? Did your life, for even an instant, touch what felt like the eternal, the divine? Did you maybe witness the profound power of a small, tiny act of kindness? Or did you watch as someone was able to overcome a formidable challenge? Did you feel maybe inexplicably close or in sync, connected to a whole group of other people that were somehow miraculously moving as one? Did you see something, maybe a piece of art or a part of nature that moved you to tears? Take just a few moments and bring that experience to heart and mind. Awe is incredibly powerful. It's not some flimsy, fanciful thing, some hooey-hooey mumbo-jumbo that's meant for just mystics or academics or poets or weirdos. It's a transforming force. It points us to what is beyond. It connects us to what we don't understand and maybe we can't ever explain. And because of that, because awe does put us in touch with what we can't capture or contain, we sometimes disregard it or diminish it. We want to explain it away. Cast iron certainty, foregone conclusions, safe bets, inevitability, known answers. We like those types of things, right? We're groomed by our culture, by our times, to just want certitude, conviction. And in general, we do tend to shy away or even demean what we don't know and certainly what we just can't quite figure out. We hate being caught unawares. We don't want to look foolish or worse, stupid. We'd much rather be master teachers than mere students of our own lives. And it's a shame. It's such a shame because it's a great spiritual and material loss when we limit our experience to what we know, what we can predict, even with what we feel. But what about the mystery? What about the searching? Don't we want to, even just every once in a while, want to touch the inexplicable, the ineffable, the miraculous that is somehow, at the same time, way beyond us, but also right at our fingertips? A year ago, I read a book and it had a big impact on me. I finished it a week before Lent 2023. So even though my heart was racing with the excitement of a potential course of reflection for us as a community, I had to pump my brakes. I had to shelve it for a year because we were already going with rupture and repair. You remember? And that was great, and I loved it. It was fabulous. But I had to wait, which I'm not that great at, right? Nor I can tell you. I would see in 12 months if this learning stayed with me and if it would match what we as a community need. Well, here we are. And I think it's safe to say that in order for us to continue to stay engaged with and responsive to our beautiful but broken and violent world, right along with the rest of our lives, we could really use some awe. We could really use something to fill our bodies and our souls back up. Can I get an amen? Right, that's what I'm feeling. Psychologist and professor Dr. Keltner, along with the Greater Good Science Center at Berkeley, studies emotional intelligence, morality, and spirituality all as a part of human wholeness. And for the last 2 decades, Keltner's been investigating the primary experience of awe in human life. Now, awe happens to us in these moments we've been talking about, that we transcend our own understanding when we sort of bump into something that's greater than ourselves, when we do get to experience that mystery. Plus, awe, as it turns out, has real, powerful, measurably good effects on us and our well-being. Moments of awe, it turns out, are health-giving. They're immunity-boosting. Did you know? They sync up our breath and our nervous system and our heartbeat. Buddhists are like, yeah, we know. Plus, moments of awe, they sync up our bodies to those around us and our bodies to the created world around us in profoundly cool ways. So awe is this life-giving, joy and meaning-making good stuff, right? And the findings of all of that research is what gave the foundation to us as our Lenten theme: cultivating awe, finding wonder in the everyday. Docker and the lab, they conducted 2,600 interviews on every continent in 20 languages. And from those thousands of personal narratives, they found that people experienced awe, that people were brought to the brink of what we understand, not when they achieved something or they won something or something like extraordinary happened. I'm not going to do that again, Kay. But when something just regular happened in the day to day, it's just that we have to notice it. It's just that we have to be looking. So poet and philosopher David Whyte tries in verse to jostle those readers into awe, into this greater awareness of the connectivity with the whole of the world. He writes this: we have so many allies in this world, including just the color blue in the sky, which we are not paying attention to, or the breeze, or the ground beneath our feet. He writes, we have an invitation to come out of abstraction and back into the world. Everything is waiting for you. Your great mistake, he writes, is to act the drama as if you were alone. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Everything is waiting for you. Everything is waiting for us. What better time is there, friends, to answer that invitation, to enter into awe than Lent? All the religious traditions draw and cultivate awe. And the Christian faith among them has no more awesome journey than the one that we just started, the Lenten season. As we wander in the wilderness for a bit with Jesus, let's be on the lookout for wonder, for the angels that, guess what, will attend us when the beasts and the devil are revealed, because they will be. Maybe when we get down to the essentials, to strip away these distractions and the things that distance us from one another and from God, as the wilderness does tend to help us do. It will be easier to notice those pathways to the transforming power of awe. One of the 8 ways that humans encounter everyday wonder is when we do feel, even if we can't explain, the presence of the divine. When somehow we feel the presence of God right with us. When our hearts are strangely warm, so say the Methodists. When God's love and forgiveness and steadfastness becomes real, and when we feel it. So check out this scripture passage that Kay read earlier and see what we can learn about God's presence and patience with us. Tell me if it ain't the most awe-inspiring thing you've heard in a minute. On the tail end of what was to be, the world-ending flood sent by God, there's a reprieve. God had set out to teach humanity once and for all, thank you very much, to give us the ultimate consequence for our vengeance, this vengeance that we pursue, and for our damn near refusal to change from our harmful ways. So God brought on the flood of all floods, hearkening back to the primordial, watery chaos that began creation because God was going to start again. But while watching this destruction unfurl, God's heart broke for humanity, for us. We cannot help ourselves. We cannot do it alone. We keep on doing harm to one another, to our world, and therefore to God. And in a frickin' stupendous act of mercy, something amazing happened. Because we cannot seem to change, God does. God said to humanity, essentially, fine, you can't put down your loaded weapon against one another. I can. I will. And then God makes a promise to humanity. In fact, even cooler, to all of the world, right, Dr. Keller? To all of the world. And says, I will do you no harm. Wilder still, God promises this without demanding a thing from any of us. Not anything do we have to do back. It's just total grace. And as a sign of promise, God puts this bow into the sky. It's an empty, unloaded bow, demonstrating how God is going to relate to us, be in this with us, in compassion, in peace. Now, what I think makes this story even cooler, and its lesson more impactful, is understanding when it was first told. Because this story comes to us from a time when the Israelites were in exile. The loss of home, of custom, of peoplehood, predictability, purpose. I mean, obviously, it would have left them in great need for God's assurance, God's care. And from the priestly tradition that wrote the narrative down, we know that tangible signs of God's presence were incredibly important. People needed them. And that makes sense, right? It makes total sense. When everything seems desolate and all you can seem to access is fear and despair, you desperately need a sign from your God. You need to be reminded in real ways, in felt ways, in seen ways that God's with you in this. God hasn't abandoned you. You aren't left to your own devices. The Israelites, in the midst and in the mess of exile, well, they needed those signs way back then. But I think we need those signs too, right now, don't we? We long for signs from God. We yearn to feel and see and somehow know that God is with us. We need experiences of awe that may be beyond our comprehension, but certainly do draw us in to deeper and richer connection to God and each other and this world. We need the signs. So think about the last time you saw a rainbow. Do you, like me, drop everything to go and see where it is, right? And I dare you, when you hear that there's a rainbow, not like run over to see and almost try and figure out where it starts and where it ends. They're just stunning. They're inspiring. They're awesome. And what a perfect sign of God's determination not to give up on us. A rainbow is special, but it's just a naturally occurring phenomenon. It's an everyday. It's there for us to be drawn into or to ignore. It can be a portal to encounter the divinity or just some light on some water at an angle. I'll tell you what, though, when we do get blessed with these awe moments, when we do actually take it in, I encourage you, share it. Don't keep it to yourself. I'll tell you a story that demonstrates why. Now, as most of you know, when Lent began on Wednesday, we sent out an email telling you so and giving you the theme and sharing the I know. It's okay. We need like multiple emails and texts and carrier pigeons. Anyway, back to this email, I get a return message that taught me even more about the power of awe, and I got permission to share it with you. Let me give you some context. You all remember little baby Abe that we baptized 2 Junes ago when Ekema preached on Juneteenth? Carla's godson? Okay, Carla, yes. This is about your people. Now, his parents, Joella and Jason, they are just the best. And they moved up a little ways north, so we don't see them as often, but they are still connected with us. They are still, getting those emails and actually reading them. Amazing, hint, hint. So I get an email from Joella. This is what she wrote. Lee, I cannot tell you how grateful we are for the depth of St. Paul and St. Andrew's community engagement. These devotionals are so impactful and such a phenomenal resource and guide. I'm pregnant. Abe will be a big brother to a baby sister. Last night, she writes, I had a bit of a scare and I needed to go to the hospital. I'm 100% fine. Abe was a super trooper waiting for 3 hours in the lobby, drawing and reading with his papa. But I had time to reflect while all the examining was going on. I didn't know at that time what our theme was, cultivating awe, but I was going through all these tests and getting hooked up to the monitors, and I was sort of dazed, she writes. I was in awe by the fact that this little being is inside of me, who, God willing, will join the world soon. Joella says, I was feeling the pulse in my belly, and I was amazed at science, at life, at the privilege I enjoy having access to such outstanding medical care, at loss and grief from when babies do not reach us or when they go too soon. Just so many feelings of awe. She continued, you remember last year, Carla put a prayer in the bulletin for a dear friend of mine who lost her baby daughter a few hours after she was born. Well, that same friend just welcomed a new baby this past Friday. Now, I hadn't shared the name we had picked out for our baby that I'm pregnant with. We picked it out for years. But my friend ended up naming their baby the exact same name. When I learned that news, I was in awe. As I read Joella's email, my heart seemed to grow, and my eyes misted over. And I felt the unmistakable presence of God, contracting the distance between us and blessing me with this soul warmth, with joy, with awe. Not knowing her impact on me, of course, she finished that email by saying, apologies for clogging up your inbox. I giggled. She just preached my sermon to me. Look at God, friends. Look at God. This Lent, let's be countercultural. Let's go out looking for what we can't explain. Let's be ready to see the signs from God. And please, intellectuals, progressives, don't minimize them. Don't explain them away. Let's listen for the music. Let's look at the sun setting on the river. Let's watch for the small kindnesses and these giant overcomings. Let's not pull back from the miraculous and the perilous beginnings of life or the ends of it. Let's not brush away what others might call coincidence or happenstance or flights of fancy. When these experiences can speak to our hearts of so much more, let's give ourselves over to this awe, which will connect us to God, to this powerful, persistent, compassionate, transforming force of good and grace. We have our assignment, friends. Let's look for the rainbows.